Good evening, fellow netizens of a beautiful continent called Africa.
Welcome to eNitiate Visual Radio, and we're back again as promised last week.
Absolutely. This is the voice of Brawili, CEO and founder of eNitiate Integrated Solutions.
And I am simply going by Vince West, and I'm the co-pilot to the CEO.
And Vince is also head of operations at eNitiate, and he's doing a great job indeed.
No, just put money in my bank. Don't give me compliments. Put money in the bank.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, Vince.
Yeah.
Time will come, I promise.
I know. So speaking of time, it's just gone a minute after 8 o'clock. And thank you to our hosting family. That is the Radio Junto family. www.radiojunto is where, as eNitiate Visual Radio, we hosted.
Absolutely. And through the leadership of Dr. Lucas Moloi, this radio station is definitely going from strength to strength. It's an internet radio, and we invite you, as we have been doing on our social networks, to join us here. Come and spend an hour with us. We are bringing Digital Africa to you.
Yeah. We cover all sorts of topics. We normally start with a look at what happened at eNitiate, and then we look at what took center stage in South Africa, and then we cross over to the continent at large, and then we cross the seas to find out what happened internationally, which is of interest to any African netizen.
And we've got two new features that we are introducing today. Hang with us. We will talk about them down the line. We obviously are on all sorts of platforms on social networks. We also have our own website. It's called eNitiate.solutions. eNitiate.solutions. Check us out. We've been spewing a few interesting blog posts lately, and I invite you to go check them out. We are actually going to talk about one or two such blog posts, including the one that Vince himself put together.
Yeah, I feel like the kid on the block. I feel like Trevor Noah.
You feel like the kid on the blog post.
Yeah, I feel like the new kid on the block. I feel like I have that Trevor Noah energy. Like the kid that's been spoken about.
Absolutely. I am especially proud of this particular blog post that Vincent put together. I'm actually not going to tell you much about it. I want you to go check it out on our blog page. You will see Vincent on what purports to be a cover page. And he's doing his own thing there. You won't miss it. I invite you to go check it out. That's really the blog post, and I think I'm going to leave it there, Vince. Do you think that's kind of enough? Because we've celebrated it quite a bit on Monday.
Yeah. Remember, the reason why they call me Vince West is that there is a bit of Kanye West in me. So if you talk about me too much, you're just feeding the monster, eh?
I'm just happy that you're not too close to Kanye there, because I wouldn't know how to manage your energy levels in the studio right now.
Yeah, no. So it's all right.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, as promised, we've cooked up a warm and hearty menu, like the soup that Brawili posted about earlier when promoting the show. And I looked at this, I was like, well, yeah, the weather's changed a bit right here in South Africa, but I wouldn't take it to the soup level. But it's all right. This show will be like the chicken soup for your soul until 9 o'clock. So let's just cuddle up together and just get on with it, Brawili.
Absolutely. And I must also tell you, on a parting shot on this soup note, I ordered way too much, because I didn't know that a small portion was going to be just enough, and I ordered a large portion, and yay, I battled to actually finish it. But the soup was nice. I must just indicate.
It's all right. So is the soup that we have prepared for the netizens, and starting with the entree. About the revitalisation of the eNitiate brand.
Yes.
It's been a very exciting week. Actually, it's been 7 days since the shoot.
Actually on the dot, yes.
On the dot, yeah.
Because we did the shoot on Thursday.
But today's Wednesday.
Yeah. So it has been 7 days.
Yeah, and it was also like today was exactly 7 days since the official revitalisation launch.
Yes, which
to
was
public.
on Wednesday. Yeah. We were actually brave, and the stuff that we learned from choosing the 1st of April has kind of prompted us to choose that day as such a day that we're going to be doing something every year going forward. It was quite an interesting day because, when we put the blog post out, people weren't sure whether we were just fooling around or were we for real.
Yeah, hey, there's so many spoofs these days, so I'm sure people were concerned. And funny enough, I didn't really read up on any digital stories or through the digital mediums. I didn't read up on any story of a spoof inclination that made headlines.
Yeah, there was a spoof by Meg Maharaj. That's the one which made a little bit of noise.
What, that he was stepping down? No, that one is for real.
Yes, that one is for real. I'm trying to remember now what the spoof was.
Yeah.
Things like, he was bringing back Esop Bahad back into the parliament and restructuring and all those sorts of things. It was from what I heard, it actually went down quite well. I'm told he's that kind of person. He's a prankster of note.
But politicians are always pranksters in any case, eh?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's fine.
Maybe can we leave it there?
Yeah, let's leave it there. So, as part of the revitalization, we shared a new look in terms of some logos that were first revealed to public. Brawili.
Yes.
Tell us more about these.
We have 5 logos now, and we have introduced all those logos out to the public. And what we're doing is we're writing for each of those logos, which really represents a brand or a business. Some of the businesses are already established, other businesses are still new. 4 of the 5 businesses are for profit, and the 5th business is a not-for-profit business, which is really us giving back. And we spoke about it to some extent last week. So we will keep writing about them. We invite people to visit our blog page to find out more about the stuff that we're saying insofar as where we've come from, how did we get here, and how are we going forward. We obviously are not going to be revealing too much about going forward because that's our strategy and we want to keep it under wraps. But we're giving a little, just a taste of how we see ourselves growing going forward. And the good news as well, I think we spoke about it last week. We also welcomed Lesedi Mamabola, who is our finance guru. And Lesedi is already, putting me in line with regards to expenditure, and the story about cappuccinos. So I'm already in trouble with Lesedi. But welcome, Lesedi. We're really looking forward to you making sure that our finances are in order.
Definitely we are. And hey, this one hit me by surprise. The slogan.
Yeah.
The slogan about you are the best teller of your own story. But is this what's this for now? Just the business slogan is changing, or
no, this is the eNitiate visually slogan.
Okay, which is more the design side and stuff, right?
Well, you must remember that the eNitiate Contently slogan says
content that counts.
So this one speaks about exactly what we're doing now, because our attempt on this show is to tell Africa's best digital stories.
Yeah.
And we are challenging everyone out there, and we're going to actually revisit this slogan to demonstrate its application not so long from now. where we're saying it is time for Africans to actually take the baton, and we must tell our own stories, and we can't be expecting the world to be telling our stories, because, and I remember this word vividly, it's one of the first things that you said when we started on this show at the end of November. You said, if we allow the world to tell our stories, either those stories are not true or they are perverted.
And look at the Garissa University matter.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk at some length about it to try and make the point that the world owes us nothing. It is up to us to really take those stories out there ourselves. We can't keep asking, why isn't the world talking about our stories? We have the power to make them talk about us, and also talk about us in the way that we want them to.
Yeah. I heard some other radio stations going on about that, to say, Je suis Charlie, da 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 da. It's like, don't these people listen to eNitiate Visual Radio?
They obviously don't. I think we need to do some more work to make sure that many more people listen to us, albeit we are obviously in competition with a lot of soapies out there, especially Ashes to Ashes and the Generations legacy. Interestingly, on a bit of an aside, I wonder how Ashes to Ashes is doing now. No, it's not.
Is this an itch?
No,
it's
just a question.
Okay.
It's an aside. Yeah. Because when Ashes to Ashes, and fellow netizens, for those of you who live outside of South Africa or don't know anything about South African soapies, there is a program called Ashes to Ashes that was launched, I think it was 2 months ago now, give or take, and it was meant to compete head on with the biggest soapy in the country right now, called the Generations legacy. It was called Generations previously, and those of you who still live within the continent, you must know Generations, because it is being broadcast everywhere practically on the continent at the moment, through the DSTV channel, of course. And Ashes to Ashes came on board. The story is a bit long. We're not going to go back there because we've spoken about it quite a bit already. But when Ashes to Ashes came on board, we were tracking it, and there was a lot of positive sentiment behind Ashes to Ashes, with people saying, hey, we've had enough of the Generations. Ashes to Ashes is going to kick its butt, and so on and so on. I wonder what the story is right now, and we probably have to go back and check so we can report back to say, Ashes to Ashes is still holding its own, or it was just a flavor of the moment.
Speaking of the flavor of the moment, it is 8:13, and this show is eNitiate Visual Radio Show. To read up more on what we do, who we are, and the faces behind the actual brand, you can visit our site, which is www.enitiate.solutions. And
soon we're going to be having tons and tons of our photos from the shoot on our own site, so people can actually see the faces behind the good work that we do.
Awesome stuff indeed. Brawili, let's continue. We're on a roll here.
Yeah, maybe on just a parting shot insofar as eNitiate is concerned. Remember, we offer digital content solutions that are meant to help brands develop a digital footprint in the most effective possible way. Is there something like a most effective possible way?
I think
it sounds like I'm making it up.
You're just tautologizing there,
I suppose.
Yeah.
Don't remind me of my principle now, but I'm not going to go there.
It's all right.
So let's get on to Mzansi as the next section. As Vincent has indicated, we have 4 sections to this show. We covered eNitiate the business. We're covering Mzansi now, and we will cover Africa and the globe afterwards. But on South Africa specifically, 2 key things that I want to speak to quickly, and then we can speak about the story of the moment. And those 2 things are the AFCON 2017 has now been announced. It's happening in Gabon, actually, not Gambia. It's happening in Gabon in 2017, as it were. And also the different groups have also been announced. South Africa is South Africa's group has been announced, and so have all the other groups. The intention is really not to turn this into a soccer show, but suffice to say that AFCON 2017 has now been announced, and it's happening in Gabon. Second story, SARS. SARS beat its own tax collection target for 2014-2015. The target was beat by a whopping 7.4 billion rand. 7.4 billion rand. That's a whack of money. They were hoping to collect 986.4 billion, but they ended up collecting 979 billion. Oh, the other way around. They were hoping to collect 979. They ended up collecting 986.4. The question I'm asking myself, Vince, is what role did e-filing play in in SARS beating their own collection target?
Of course, it plays a major role.
Yeah.
It saved people time.
Oh yes, it did.
And, I think nothing beats being given time to actually do what you need to do instead of the long queues associated with the revenue.
Actually, the two things that e-filing by SARS has done, and it really makes SARS stand out insofar as e-commerce by government is concerned. Two things. The first one is the convenience factor, and with it, they made it so user-friendly. But the second one as well is that for those who have tax refunds, they pay you much quicker when you have used e-filing than when you have filed in the traditional way.
Yeah.
So there is an incentive there for people to file using the internet, so to speak.
So always dangle a carrot.
And really, SARS are very good at it.
Yeah.
In the process which, they are beating their own targets, which is great. But the story of the moment, Vince, which we posted 2 blog posts about, including the one that was published this morning at 3 a.m., is Trevor Noah.
I am smiling ear to ear because I think it's a proud moment.
It certainly is
us
for
as South
all
Africans.
South Africans and
Africans.
Exactly. I wanted to say it should be for Africa as a whole, because I don't know of any comedian from the continent who's made it as big as Trevor on the world stage.
Funny enough, earlier I was with 2 Nigerian brothers of mine, and they were going on about how Zimbabwe can keep their Buffalo Soldier because they have P Squared, Davido, Wizkid, and Ice Prince.
Look, on the music side of things, there is no argument that Nigeria has really made it big on the world stage.
But my point is, as a South African, patriotically speaking, I think of how we've just had stars on a world stage, especially with regards to the performing arts, not necessarily music.
True. Yeah. Yes, we've been strong on the performing arts side of things, and we've had the privilege for some while. But we must also remember that Nigeria has had the same privilege. Think of Fela Kuti, think of his son Femi Kuti. They've really been performing at the biggest of stages for a long, long time now.
It's all right. I can kind of hear the other countries in the background going, do you know about so-and-so? Because every African nation's got a star to talk about.
You are right. So Senegal has also done well by and large,
Yeah, and the likes.
So I think on the performing arts side of things, as Africa, we have done pretty well.
That's awesome feedback indeed. Nonetheless, Pravil.
Trevor Noah. We now know, those of us who read or who take the time to watch radio, to watch news programs, or listen to radio, we now know that Trevor Noah is going to be taking over the Daily Show, Comedy Central's Daily Show, when Jon Stewart steps down sometime this year. Okay? Big story all on its own. Multiple angles that media have been looking for to try and profile the story and keep it on the front of pages. I have, in my recent memory, Vincent, I don't remember any person from the entertainment industry, because I'd like to believe that's where comedy is. I don't remember any single person of any color who has been hogging the front pages for such a long time, consistently for that matter. And what's even greater, based on positive news, nothing negative. Even though the Americans have tried to find something negative about Trevor's jokes, they haven't succeeded. But certainly in South Africa, I've never seen it in my recent memory. So that on its own is a huge scoop for Trevor.
It is a huge scoop. I think I remember when I first saw the first time I ever saw him perform any of his comedy sets.
Yeah.
I was attending a press event and I was like, who is this guy? And my word, this is like some 8 years back, but he's never disappointed. You're right. Consistency has been the name of his game, eh?
It certainly has been. And actually, I don't know if I told you this story. I've never told this story publicly. But I'm probably
Which one? The one about the two twins?
No. There you go again. But there were a bit of the context. Trevor Noah is a stand-up comedian who's 31 years old. He's a South African, born of a Swiss father and a Xhosa mother. So he's a mixed race. And Trevor has really done well for himself. Starting from literally, from the dusty streets of Soweto to where he is now. For all intents and purposes, he's become a global figure now. He doesn't have to be staying in any one place because he's all over the show. As we speak, he's just come from Dubai, where he spent a whole week to sold out shows. That's really how Trevor rolls. He's all over the show, including Scotland and. So we can go on and on. But I'm probably, in my past life, I'm probably one of the first people who gave Trevor his first crack at the limelight.
Oh, I'd love to hear this. I think this is like a blog on its own. Indulge us.
And I mean for real. Now, Trevor back then used to do, are they called
cornrows? Yeah,
exactly. He used to do cornrows quite a bit. This was as far back as 2003. Yes, 2003, if not 2004, there or thereabout. I gave Trevor an opportunity. I'm saying I because ultimately I was the brand manager for Coffee Haze back then. Okay? And we had a competition going and we were looking for a model. And Trevor auditioned.
To be the model.
To be the model who was basically going to be talking about the competition and how it works and all those sorts of things on TV, obviously. And, he auditioned amongst many other people. I was not on the panel necessarily, but I had attended the auditions. And I actually told them I like Trevor. He got the job. He probably doesn't know that. And I suspect it's probably, if not his first TV job, certainly one of the first TV jobs that he did. So Trevor, my man.
Interesting. I definitely think that is interesting. You are still tuned into eNitiate Visual Radio with myself, Vince West, with Brawili. And hey, we are on this show on Radio Junto every Wednesday between 8 and 9 p.m.
GMT plus 2.
We're back after this water break.
Okay, back to Trevor. On a more recent note now.
This is a blog on its own.
Yeah. On a more recent note, Trevor, as we know, he's taking over from Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart has been running The Daily Show for the last 17 years, from 1999. I didn't know this, but The Daily Show itself actually was first broadcast in 1996. But Jon Stewart took it over in 1999 up until now. So that's a bit of the history there. It is an American late night talk and news satire television program, and I think Loyiso Gola must have kind of stolen the idea from shows like those. We know that they are a couple because there's David Letterman's show, there's Jay Leno, there is this one, the Daily Show, and there's a couple more that we don't even know about because the US has got such a huge channel. Such a huge
plethora
of channels, across the board. So this is one of the many, but it's one of the most known because it became a global success, so to speak. Okay, you can read more about the Daily Show if you are interested by just going to Wikipedia and searching for it. Okay, let's move on. This performance or this achievement by Trevor is important to us. It's important because it generated some controversy in the US. Okay, some of the Americans are not happy with the fact that you're having an outsider taking over a show, and they started actually counting how many outsiders are running a few of these big comedy shows, and it's like, no, where are we going with this? So if there's anyone from the US who's listening to this show, let me give you the stats, and you can actually go and check our blog post to this effect. Here are the facts. The first thing is that Trevor, when you Google him, you get more than 44 million results. When you just Google Trevor Noah, it tells you that he's got a huge online presence already. So let's keep going. He has over 2 million Twitter followers, and he is the fourth most popular South African Twitterer. Popular based on the number of followers. He has a Facebook page of more than 2 million fans, and he is the 8th largest. His Facebook page is the 8th largest in South Africa. He has over 200,000 YouTube subscribers, and his channel, as per end of December 2014, it was the second largest by subscriber base in South Africa.
But like the Americans would say, is he American?
I suppose that's where the issue comes from, because they kind of claiming that, they don't know him. One thing that baffles me about the fact that, he is not known in America is, as far back as 3 years ago, he was on Jay Leno's show.
Is that 3 years ago?
It was 3 years ago.
Sure, it's like yesterday.
As far back as 2 years ago, he was on David Letterman's show. And he was on many other shows in addition to those. He did his own stand-ups. He performed at the Apollo, and those of us who know anything about the Apollo, and I don't claim to know much about it myself, but the Apollo is one of those venues which many people would die to perform in. And he had a full a sold-out show at the Apollo. This was more than a year ago already. So when Americans say he is not well known in America, it actually baffles my brains. I know that America is a big country, but he has been on a few of the very big shows in America itself. So I don't understand the story that they don't know him.
Yeah, he's an international phenomenon. It's not a fair comment to say he's not known.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually ignorant. Everybody.
There you go. There you go, Vince.
I mean, even down under, they know who Trevor Noah is. It's very ignorant. But I guess it's all about that is he American thing. But it's
I think actually I suspect that's the issue.
Yeah,
it is not. It is not so much about whether he's known or not. I think it is. I suspect it's got to do with the fact that he's not American, and it's like, who's this guy from Africa? because I guess, as far as most Americans are concerned, and I'm saying most, I could get into trouble because it's a very sweeping statement.
Yeah.
When you say you come from South Africa, what the hell is that? What? You come from Africa, that's where it ends.
Aside. We still love Trevor Noah.
Yeah,
and
Trevor, we behind you all the way, man, and we wish you every success. Go and represent us well. We know you're going to. We can't wait to see you take over and grow the Daily Show, taking it really to another level.
Awesome stuff indeed. It's just gone 8:30 on eNitiate Visual Radio. We're in the second half of the show, and in this show we promised you earlier that we're going to be looking at news that made headlines now on the continent. And this has been quite a very heavy week, especially for the continent.
Absolutely.
But we're going to touch on it because we are very informed citizens. We're not going to be ignorant about some of the realities. But remember, this show is all about taking digital Africa to the world. So even when we express our views and opinions on topical matters, we'll come at it from a digital slant.
Absolutely.
And please don't move an inch. And we've got two new features that we wanted to launch. Brawili.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead?
Okay, the first feature that we want to launch is called a digital yawn.
Cool.
A digital yawn is when we have come across a random story, which is like one of those take it, use it, don't use it kind of factors.
Yeah.
We throw it out there and you're like, oh, okay. You can yawn about it.
Yeah.
And then the second feature is called digital itch.
Cool.
Literally is that itch that you just want to scratch, it irritates you and you wish that something can be done about it.
Yeah.
So look out for both these in this last 30 minutes of the show, because the idea is to throw it when it's least expected, just to kind of like ease things up.
I like that.
Cool. So, but I will, of course, the Kenya issue made a big noise this week. And immediately, for some reason, I've been thinking about one of our correspondents, Sitawa.
Yes.
All the way from Kenya. And I was like, we must speak to her just to get a sense of what the feeling is. The massacre of 147 students at a university. And since there's been a hashtag associated with this. Now, there's a story brewing there because some people, as we alluded to in the beginning, some people feel that because it happened in Africa, it's not getting the world attention that it deserves.
Absolutely, but maybe just a small correction, Vince. Even though there were 147 deaths, about 6 of those deaths, 3 of them were security guards and the other 3 were the military guys.
Right.
Yeah, so students, the number is about 141.
Noted.
This is actually illustrating the fact that it's great to be co-hosts so that we kind of keep each other honest, and also so insofar as the netizens are concerned, we're also saying to you guys, we really try and check our facts as best we can.
Noted.
Awesome stuff. It's a heavy topic. Heavy because of the fact that there's El Shabaab involved here, and we know the story with El Shabaab and the things that they've been doing. We know what they have done. Was it 2 years ago when they bombed the Westgate Mall, and they were just mowing people like they're animals. As Vincent has indicated, dear netizens, ours is not to be politicizing the issue that's already political. That's not our space. But we're talking about this really from a digital perspective, because a lot of the Africans are saying, well, there's this tragic story that happened in Kenya. We don't hear as much about it as we did when Jesui Shali, I have to learn, took effect. In fact, some of the number crunchers are saying that Kenya got only half of the mentions that France got. Being that as it may, there are people who are also saying, where is the international media now? And the question we're asking is, where is the continental media? Where are the continental netizens? Why should it be up to the global media to be taking interest in our affairs, and only then, we feel like, we are kind of on par with the rest of the world? We need to be taking this bait in ourselves and go out there and broadcast this stuff ourselves. We can't be relying on global media for this.
Instead of being crying ignorance, I believe we are experiencing a bit of an inferiority complex or a short man syndrome, because it's kind of like saying, we feel like, hey man, how come nobody's not taking us any serious? It's like, if you're a big deal, you're a big deal type of thing. So like I said earlier, I think it's just the short man syndrome taking effect, and I feel it's even more ignorant that some media are actually glorifying the short man syndrome to say that is the feeling of Africans on ground level. But I'm sure we can debate this in a lot of ways, but the key takeout is that it's up to Africans to tell their own stories.
Absolutely, because we really don't need validation from the West for us to feel better about ourselves. If we want this thing to be on a global stage, we need to take it there ourselves and not wait for anybody to come do it on our behalf. And I must commend the Kenyans because, based on the news that we saw on CNN, the Kenyans have gone out there and said, you know what, we want to make sure that all these 147 people who were murdered, their names are known. It can't just be a number. Hence the hashtag, which is, 147, not just a number. And they've been pushing it quite a bit. They've been doing marches and all those sorts of things, and they're out there. And that is how we should take, our fight to the world in a kind of loosely put way. One of the things that people should be asking is, well, you had world leaders going to a march in France when this happened. Why aren't we having the continental leaders standing as a unit and saying this thing should not be happening? I honestly haven't heard anything from the African Union about it, and I'm not claiming that I've been tracking what they're saying or not saying about this. But if they were saying anything loudly, we should be hearing about it. But it's being, kind of being said in individual ways by individual leaders, depending on who they are. There hasn't been a concerted effort to make this one united voice to say, guys, we're not going to have this happening anymore. Let's go out there and flush these guys out wherever we can find them. Yeah,
it's going to be a very interesting war on terror that, as Africans, especially netizens, are going to have to get involved in, because it seems like the terrorism scourge is also crawling its way into the digital platforms, Brawi.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah. So I saw a very interesting post on Instagram by a trend and thought leader by the name of Dion Chang.
Yes.
He took a screen grab of, while he was surfing the net, he was on the One Direction website, or a One Direction related web page. One Direction being the international pop group. And then a pop-up banner or an interruptive banner came on the screen. It was about if you want to convert to Islam, follow this link for a private chat on the breakdown, etc., etc. And he was just saying, this is how the luring of young, especially females, starts. If you imagine, One Direction is a pop group, male boys, and girls are the ones that will go onto that kind of a
Absolutely.
website.
So it tells you who they were targeting.
It tells you exactly who they were targeting. So add that to the whole story about the 15-year-old Cape Town girl who was taken off a flight that was possibly en route to Saudi Arabia with all the ISIS links. And it seems that the connection came through social media.
Yeah.
So it's a very dynamic world that we're living in, and netizens can play their role.
You see, just as much as internet is great for most of us, it's also just as great for all the other people with ill intentions. So all of us need to really be on the alert for stuff like that, and really be very savvy with regards to the kind of sites that we visit and the people that we follow, and then obviously the Facebook pages that we also like, because you may never know what's going to happen next. Me and you have got kids, and this is the scary time, because we're talking about it in terms of terrorism, but it happens in terms of bullying that is taking place on social media as well, and it just goes on and on. So it actually calls on us to assume a bigger responsibility to teach our kids about the usage of the internet in general, but social media specifically.
Yeah. Now, Brawili, on this Kenya case, as we bring it all together, what are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves? As Africans, as netizens, as just ordinary human beings?
Absolutely. And we've kind of spoken about these questions in some ways, but those questions are, why do the comparisons continue? Why should we keep comparing ourselves to what's happening to the West? The whole story about France and now Kenya. What can Africans do about thrusting their own stories to the forefront of all the digital media houses? Because we do have the power. It's just that we do not harness our power in such a way that it allows us to be doing stuff like that. The attempt with this particular show is to actually say, we are taking this power and we're taking it to the world, and we're not going to be waiting for the world to come to us. How much interest has it generated from continental media? Because if the continental media themselves are not as interested, we can't be expecting that anyone else outside of the continent is going to be. And the last one is really, what have African heads of state done to ensure this incident is on the spotlight? Because if you had a situation where, let's do a copycat kind of thing, if you had a few of the African leaders actually going to Kenya and marching side by side with Uhuru Kenyatta, it would have certainly caught the eye of the world, and maybe it would have been reported on more than has been the case now. And I must say that I give props to President Kenyatta, because literally a day after this incident occurred, he was out there giving a press briefing and saying, "Calm down, dear Kenyans. We are going to do everything that we can to protect you." And in fact, he gave an order, I remember vividly, on that day. He said, "Go and recruit 10,000 police officers so that we can try and secure our dear citizens." And that's a bold move. And, he's been in the news again. He gave a press briefing, I think, 2 days afterwards. And, he was giving a status to say, this is where we are. These are the things that we want to be doing. And in the process, showing leadership in really saying to the Kenyans, we are feeling your pain. That, for me, is leadership.
It is leadership indeed. We are 16 minutes away from the end of the show. So don't go anywhere. It's time for a Jon Brawili.
I really think it is.
Let's soften up things a bit. This is a new feature that we are introducing, and we hope that it's going to make us search for some random facts that we want to share with you. Brawili, I can't. Oh, there we go. Bravely. Please take on this one.
That's fine. Here's a digital
mampara.
Yeah. You know, or maybe that's what we should that's what we should call it, because the question is, why aren't people learning?
Now I see.
You know, these things keep happening and people just don't learn. Or is it that naive kind of feeling that people have that, you know, it won't happen to me? Here's a scenario. A Limpopo provincial government official, whose name we know and most of South Africans know anyway. Limpopo is a province in South Africa, dear netizens, for those of you who don't know much about the South African landscape. An official coming from the provincial government from this particular province was traveling abroad on government business, and this was in August 2014. He was roaming on his business mobile phone. And it happened to be with Vodacom. He ran, allegedly, 100,000 rand worth of a bill, a good chunk of which was in data, okay, during that month alone, okay. For a lot of us, 100,000 rand is what you will spend for 2 years of your contract. You can't be spending this amount of money in 1 month alone.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things he spent the data on was watching pornographic videos. Yeah. Now, the question then becomes, how did he think he was not going to be found out? And now he's saying, no, I didn't do that. But the stats are there. They're showing what exactly you spent this whole data on. And a good chunk of it was on pornographic movies.
Has nobody ever told him about in-page analytics?
Obviously, you know, any right-thinking person should know that anything you do with all these digital gadgets can be tracked.
Yeah, clearly he doesn't know what heat map is, eh?
No, he certainly doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
No, because if he did, he would realize that he should steer clear of that thing.
Yeah, it's okay.
So the whole thing, and this is how we are really introducing the concept of the digital yawn, because the yawn is, you should have known.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He should have known about heat maps and in-page analytics, you know.
By the way, just so that you dear netizens know, we didn't make this up. The source is City Press, one of our weekend newspapers. It's actually a Sunday newspaper. This article came out of the City Press 2 Sundays ago. You can actually go and Google it. The title of the article is Limpopo Official Racks Up 100K Cell Phone Bill. So if you're interested, go look it up because it's out there and you can read more about it.
Wow. We're almost wrapping it up, but really this on the continent at large, I think we are about done. There's just one or two things of interest internationally.
Yes.
That we'd like to touch on.
Maybe before we move away from Africa, Vince, the e-commerce business in Africa hasn't really taken off in the way that it should. There's an article that was written by a gentleman called Ndubuisi Ekekwe. We spoke very briefly about it last week, where Ndubuisi was basically saying e-commerce business is battling on this continent. And he cited examples, which included retrenchments that have taken effect by the likes of InMobi. We know that InMobi is a mobile advertising platform, and Mocality. And he's saying, look, this thing is not happening as quickly as we would have wished that it should. And as a result, the e-commerce business is still a tiny subset of our economy in total, which is really very worrying. But then there was another article that came out in the Saturday Star this past Saturday, which was looking at e-retailing, we know that the likes of Pick n Pay in South Africa, they have been doing e-retailing for a long time, and that side of the business hasn't really taken off in a big way. It's still struggling to say the least. But interestingly, I was talking to my wife about the whole idea of e-retailing, because I was asking her, why does she still need to go to Pick n Pay and buy stuff? And she said to me, the one thing that I don't understand is the aspect of retail therapy. And she was saying, you know what, when I go to Pick n Pay, I'm also going out. I don't want to be buying stuff online so that people deliver it to my house. I want to go out because it's part of retail therapy. So I suppose, in a South African context, because I can't necessarily speak for the rest of the continent, but given the road infrastructure on the continent, we know that the concept of e-retailing will take some time to take effect there. I can certainly say from a South African perspective, those sorts of behaviors need to be understood by the likes of Pick n Pay and Woolworths. I was told that Woolworths is picking up somewhat, but even then, it hasn't taken off in a big way. Makro are looking to work with one of the petrol brands. I can't remember which one, where you will order online. They will then deliver your groceries to your nearest garage, and you can pick them up there. But still, if we don't understand the concept of retail therapy, we will miss the mark.
Yeah, ne? So the likes of Tesco, the likes of Tesco, the Tesco model will not necessarily work here in South Africa.
No, it won't. You see, the Tesco model worked in Korea because the Koreans are pressed for time. They have such busy lifestyles. They're trying to fit in their busy lifestyles as much as they can. So it works for them to be moving in the e-retailing kind of direction. South Africans are not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. We still have our weekends to ourselves.
True.
If we were busy 7 days a week right across the board, it would be a different issue altogether. We know that traffic is a bit of a bane in our country, but during weekends, people want to go out. When you look at the situation now where almost every retailer, they have provided for a coffee shop within the retail space. So it already says to you, you come in to do retailing, but you can also take some time off, enjoy your coffee, cappuccino, whatever it is, and then go on with your retailing trip. That already says that they understand the mindset of people who are coming to do shopping. They are not only coming to do shopping and in a hurry to dash off thereafter. So if the retailers don't understand that mindset, there's going to be a bit of a challenge. I know that Kalahari is battling a bit in this country. That's why they're going to now merge with Take a Lot. We know that quite a few of the online retailers have been battling somewhat. So those that are doing well are more the exception than the rule.
Great insights.
Great
insights. That's on e-commerce on the continent. Now, Brawili, what do we have for the global look?
We spoke very briefly, Vincent, last week about Twitter live streaming apps. Two such apps called Meerkat and Periscope, and we were hoping to actually do a live test of the Meerkat today. We're calling it Meerkat because we're trying to move. We're trying to move with the times, but it's actually Meerkat. We were hoping to do it today. Things didn't pan out in the way that we wanted them to. We'd really love to try it out so that we can invite our netizens to go check us out on our Twitter handle, the eNitiate Twitter handle, which is _initiators. We will certainly try again next week. But there's another one which was introduced later. This is the Periscope, and everybody's asking whether Periscope is going to be taking over and basically kind of send Meerkat to the
cleaners,
to the rubbish bin,
to the dogs.
Only time will tell, because even Meerkat itself, it hasn't really established itself, certainly not in South Africa. I've never heard anybody talking about Meerkat. We will probably be one of the first to actually try it out and get people excited and all those sorts of things. So we must do it next week before it becomes too popular already. So that's about the Twitter live streaming apps. There's those two, Meerkat and Periscope. Go check them out. Okay. And then Airbnb.
What is Airbnb? I hear air and I hear BNB.
Cool.
It's a lodge in the sky?
There must be an explanation behind the name Airbnb. I haven't come across it yet, but I haven't necessarily gone looking. But suffice to say, Airbnb is a kind of concept where people list their properties, their own private properties, with Airbnb for purposes of renting them out. And they are then rented out as, holiday
timeshare style.
Not quite timeshare,
okay,
but more as the alternative to holiday to hotel accommodation. In fact, what they have on the cover of their stuff is quite interesting, because they're saying, welcome home, rent unique places to stay from local hosts in over 190 countries. And I was looking at the one for South Africa, if I can find it just quickly, which I thought was quite interesting. I'll look for it and I will read it out so that netizens can kind of have a sense for what Airbnb is about. But it's doing well. It is in South Africa. They are doing some good business. I was looking at the types of accommodation here. They certainly put a lot of emphasis on pictures. Give the best pictures that you can, so that people really get a view and want to let your place versus the other places. I'm told that they are really very affordable. Actually, the first time I heard about Airbnb was in September when I was in Chicago. Because I met somebody who has African roots. He had visited Cape Town, and he was talking about the fact that he rented accommodation using Airbnb.
Oh, yeah. So it's a good recommendation coming from...
It certainly is, and now they're going into Cuba. They have all sorts of challenges in Cuba that they're facing. I didn't know this, but only 5% of the households in Cuba have got access to the internet. And the challenge there is Airbnb are using the internet for payments. So if you have only 5% of the households being on the internet, how do you pay them? And they've been looking at an alternative, which is really using the money remittance alternative for paying of these households who are putting their properties onto Airbnb.
Wow! So another great insight, definitely. Okay, I've got something to note there. I think it's a mental note for other reasons, but yeah, this is awesome. This is definitely awesome.
Yeah,
I'm sold.
Yes, so that's a bit about Airbnb. I'm certainly going to be trying it out. Obviously, Airbnb would be competing with the likes of Groupon. They'll be competing with the likes of TripAdvisor. So they are basically within the same range. It's just that with Airbnb, they are focusing specifically on B&B accommodation as opposed to hotels.
Yeah. I had my fair share dealing with amazing vouchers earlier this week.
Yeah.
But okay, side note, mental note of the topic type of stuff. Wow. Time is really, really gone now. We've got a minute to go, Brawili. We want to do the digital itch, and then how do we want to use this minute?
Yes, let's do the digital itch.
Nah, Brawili, I think here's something much more important. In closing, we want to do something very crazy for the Africa Month.
We certainly want to.
And as part of taking the revitalized eNitiate brand out to the market. So one of those things is we'd love to speak to the likes of Uche Pedro, the founder of Bella Niger.
Yeah.
We also want, as mentioned just a couple of statements ago, we want to do our first Meerkat live stream. So hopefully it can be with either Uche Pedro or Professor Alote, or maybe we can reconnect with Lukonga.
In fact,
from
Lukonga has indicated that we can chat towards the end of May, and we're really very excited about it.
Yeah, so stay tuned because we'll be keeping you updated with what we officially gonna do as part of our take on the whole Africa Month and Africa Day phenomenon.
And Uche, please, if you're listening to this show and somebody knows Uche, we want to chat to her desperately. We have sent emails to Uche's office, but we haven't had any response thus far. We will keep trying on our side. We're not going to give up on this one.
On that note, thank you.
That was us, Brawili
and Vince West.
You were listening to eNitiate eNitiate Visual Radio, brought to you by eNitiate Integrated Solutions, hosted on www.radiojunto.co.za. Until next week.